independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Hundreds on foot marching through the University of Virginia campus.
You don't care, people die!
Supporters and the group Students Act Against White Supremacy taking the night, draped in all black, with the message loud and clear.
So it was a bust. Thank God. Unite the Right, all of these things, Charlottesville, D.C., it just petered out as it should. There was far more crazy left-leaning Antifa people there that were just there to cause trouble, and they were looking for trouble. But luckily, there was none to be had. So, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit there and bang on Antifa and stuff because, quite frankly, I really don't care about them. I think they're a nothing, and to give them any kind of voice is ridiculous. But there are some issues in this country that we need to address, and race is one of those. In fact, it's our poll question today, talking about race, because I'm one of these people who's not afraid to talk about race. I will talk about it. I think we need to talk about it in this country, and I think we need to stop being afraid of talking about things that make us uncomfortable. And for those out there who want to demonize everybody, you need to stop it. Can't move and advance the ball in life if we're afraid to talk about something. There's a new CBS poll out conducted with YouGov finds that 61% of Americans say that racial tensions have increased over the past year. I'm asking you, what do you think about that? So far, 7% of you say stuff's better than last year, but 50% of you say it's worse. 43% of you say it is better. And let me tell you something. A lot of people, Trump is going to get the blame, right? Just like Obama got the blame from the right when they say, racial tension everywhere. Obama got the blame. Who's ever in charge is going to get the blame.
When we look nationally, the latest CBS poll shows that racial tensions in the past year have increased. And the percentage of Americans saying that, 61%. The majority of this country thinks it's getting worse. Right. Why hasn't there been national healing?
I think the principal reason why there hasn't been national healing is simply that the president seems to see a political advantage in sort of intensifying racial strife and racial conflict.
No, there's a lot of reasons why there isn't quote unquote healing. First and foremost is there's no money in healing. There's no money in it. There's no fun in it, if you will. Wait, what, Chad? That sounds awful. The reality is it's just like anything else. People tend to focus on the problem rather than they try to focus on the solution to a problem. And race is one of those things where there's too much in it, right? There's too much in it for the news media. There's too much in it for other media. There's too much in it for the people that really profit off race. The reality is the chances of us sitting down and sorting things out in a mature way and advancing everything forward is slim to none when too many people have, quite frankly, too many other things on their mind when it comes to race, and that's a big issue. That is a big issue. We can sit here and too many people, we're going to blame the president. Well, the president didn't make everybody who they were. It's like we always want to bring the president for the divide. No, the divide has gotten larger because we've hyper-focused on everything. I'm not saying at times let me tell you something. When President Obama was the president, the right would say he's the divider, not the uniter. The left is now saying Trump is the divider, not the uniter. Both sides play the game. And the people with the microphone and the bullhorn are going to be the ones that scream and yell the loudest because they've got something in it they want. And it's about everything from sound bites.
He has not gone far enough. I think it's a low bar for the president of the United States to simply say he's against racism.
Why? Elijah Cummings? Because it's easy to go out and say and do, right? It is. It is. And I'm not saying that, look, Trump has, and I've said this over and over, there's times when you go out there, and last year was a perfect example in Charlottesville, where I thought Trump had the opportunity to send a message. And he goes and sends a message. Then he comes back and tries to send another message, and it loses its power. It does. But the reality is we act as if this is all Trump, and it's not. We've got issues here that we need to address. And people are going to blame Trump. Well, he comes out, he's against the players who are kneeling. He's against this, why does he always... Look, let's just step away for a second with Trump. What about us? What about us as individuals? Because I don't know about you, Trump, while he's entertaining at times to talk about, frustrating at times to talk about, sometimes he's exciting to talk about some of the things. The reality is the day-to-day world that we live in, how much effect does he have on our lives? For some people out there who may be feeling both bad or good, the issues with tariffs, outside of that, not a lot, right? He's a talking point. He's something that people talk about. But what about issues that we should be talking about as a nation? That's what I want to know. That's the thing that I'm interested in. We could sit here all day and go, Trump shouldn't be talking about the NFL players. And I've told you guys this over and over again. Something that never gets brought up anywhere. The NFL took a chunk out of Trump long before anybody decided to take a knee in a national anthem game. And he doesn't forget those kind of things. And anytime he can give it to him for whatever reason, he will. Well, how did he do that? If you don't remember, there was a thing called the USFL. Trump and all the other owners sued the NFL. They got $4. Trump was front and center in all of that, and it was an embarrassment. He lost a ton of money. So anytime that he can poke them, no matter what it is, he'll jump at it. He will. He absolutely will. Anytime he can. But to think that Trump is the reason that people are mad because people are taking a knee during the anthem would be ridiculous. If they were doing the same thing during Obama's presidency, it would be all over the place and people would be screaming and yelling for it's because we have a black president. Enough with that. Enough of the sensationalism. How do we talk about race in this country when everybody's afraid to talk about race in this country? Everybody who thinks they can have a meaningful conversation about race in this country, how do we do it? We are not a nation as united as we should be, but oddly enough, we are united because we have so many things when it comes to common ground in this country that we don't ever talk about because whatever leads now, bleeds now, and that is usually politics and divisive politics at that. Absolutely.
I think this moment's not new. I think it's the most vivid manifestation in memory of some of the worst instincts in the American character.
So it's not a Trump effect per se?
No, he's exacerbated it. And he's both marshaled fear and manufactured it.
Marshaled fear and manufactured it. That's what he's done. So you mean he's been a politician? Because politicians live off fear. Politicians live off fear because that's how they get things done. Remember what we talk about all the time. You've got to create a monster. And then you tell the world you're a monster slayer. And only putting you in that position can you slay the monster. Otherwise, they're screwed. That's it. That's what you do. Create the monster. So fear is nothing new. Divisiveness, we've always had. We always will. Hey, look, when you want a nation of people that are going to be different, right? We want diversity. You're going to have differences. That's part of what makes us a great nation is we are different. We have diversity. We're different. Sitting here and blaming Trump for this, that, and the other. No, there's a lot of things that are out there. There's a lot of people out there who are frustrated, who always feel they're being called racist. When you tell half the nation that you voted for Trump and you voted for Trump because that essentially makes you a white supremacist, how do you think that's going to make them feel? Let's get rid of that and actually be able to talk about race. That is my frustration, is we're afraid to talk about things. Because the minute we talk about something, and the minute one side brings up this side, or this side brings up that side, because that's the way it's become, what ends up happening is we demonize somebody, and we call them a racist, we call them a white supremacist, and it goes to hell in a handbasket, and everybody screams and yells, and we don't get anywhere. And I think we're better than that. As a country, I know we're better than that. And we need to be moving in that direction. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful day. It's gorgeous. I went out and hit some golf balls today, even at lunch. I was able to do that. Gotta love that. Got to love that. You can text the program. You can also go to Twitter or Facebook, take the poll question. I want to hear from you. What do you think? Are we better off? Are we worse off? Is racial tensions worse than they were a year ago? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. Want to hear from you. Text us as well, 323-538-2423. CarShield is great. I travel a lot. I drive a lot. I'll be driving a lot this weekend, heading in. And what am I going to be doing? Well, driving in my car that doesn't have a warranty, but what it does have is extended vehicle protection from CarShield, which makes me sleep a little bit easier in the event of a what if. What do I mean? Let's say my car just craps out, right? Most cars, by the way, are going to last about 11 to 12 years on the road. After about 4 or 5 years, you no longer have a warranty. What do you do if your car goes, you need a new transmission or engine? That's thousands upon thousands of dollars. If you have CarShield, they make the entire process of fixing your car for a cover repair so easy. First, you call them up 24/7 roadside. It says, CarShield, help my car die, blah, blah. Whatever it is. Calm down. They say, calm down. We'll come get you. We'll sort this thing out. Boom. They say, where would you like us to take this? You mean I get to choose? Yeah, you get to choose. We'll take it to my favorite mechanic down the street. Oh, great. Oh, I don't have a car. Don't worry. You get a rental car for free while your car's being fixed. What? Yes. It's incredible. Save yourself thousands of future car repairs. Do what I did. Get covered by the ultimate and extended vehicle protection. Call 800-CAR-6100. That's 800-CAR-6100. When you do, use my code Benson or go to carshield.com. That's carshield.com. Use code Benson. Save you 10%. A deductible may apply. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. We've got we got a pastor coming on who is, let me tell you something. Moody this dude's a good dude. Right, he met with Trump. He's an African-American pastor, and he's felt the brunt of the media and many of the liberals out there. He's going to sit down and talk with us here at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to talk about race, prison reform, a lot of things like that, and what it's like to meet with Trump and then feel the wrath. And he's going to talk to us at the bottom of the hour. We've got your urban word of the day, and a man ends it all, but does it in spectacular fashion. Should we be kind of worried? Chad Benson Show.
Are you PC and groupthink brainwashed? Time for a double detox shot of Chad.
So, Peter Strzok is gone.
Strzok's attorney has just released a statement saying, quote, the decision to terminate was taken in response to political pressure to punish Special Agent Strzok for political speech protected by the First Amendment, not on a fair and independent examination of the facts, end quote. President Trump has been very vocal in his criticism of Strzok, and his congressional supporters have used Strzok to make the case that the Mueller investigation has been tainted from the start. I'm Pierre Thomas, ABC News, Washington.
So Peter Strzok is out. Doesn't get to play anymore, the FBI. They said he had to go, politically motivated. Of course, everything in life now, when it comes to D.C., is politically motivated. It's always been that way. This was a little bit more high profile. And let's be honest, very rarely do we see anybody canned for anything if you have a civil servant job, no matter what it is? You work for the government any way, shape, or form? Come on, IRS, VA hospital. Very rarely. What do they usually do? The same thing the Catholic priests used to do. They just move everybody around. This was different. This came from the second in charge. Even though people were recommending that he get demoted and have a 60-day suspension, this came, and we don't know what's behind this, meaning we know about all of the text messages, we know everything else. They may have looked and found other things, so they thought, you know what, it's best that we just end it right here. End it right here. But of course it's politically motivated. Everything's politically motivated. But it's also job motivated. Maybe you weren't doing your job. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Each and every day at this time, we break it down for you. Simple and easy. We simply call this our urban word of the day.
It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
This one's neat. This is text code. So, like, if you're looking on your kid's phone and you see them type this in, this is code. Meaning they're probably talking about something. CD9. CD9 means code 9. Parents are around. What? Yes. parents are around. You could go, okay, what are you guys talking about? I know what that means. It means I'm around, an adult is around. What's the deal? What are you guys talking about? You should be in the know. That's what we like to do for you. CD9, code for parents are around. That's your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you.
That there was the urban word of the day. We damn stretched your cranium.
Could you start a left-hand turn, and we'll take you down to the southeast, please?
This is probably like jail time for life, huh? I mean, I would hope it is for a guy like me.
Yeah, that right there is the man who stole an airplane, Richard Russell, 29 years old, Horizon ground crew guy who stole an airplane and took it on some loop-de-loops before eventually killing himself. And I have been talking about it for a long time. Producer Anthony said, Chad, since the first time I met you, one of the things you've been on about is the fact that you never worry about, who's on the plane with you anymore. It's what's underneath and who has access to underneath. This guy was a baggage handler, and he had some issues, serious issues, before he eventually killed himself doing loop-de-loops in a plane that he stole. And that's the thing. Who's underneath? Who's putting bags on? This guy had some real serious issues.
75 minutes after takeoff, the plane crashes into flames on a small island. Russell is killed.
Got a lot of people that care about me, and it's going to disappoint them that I did this. I would like to apologize to each and every one of them.
Sad, very, very sad, and now we're going to have to figure out why this guy had access to the things that he had access to. Did they not do a background check? And even at the background check, are they doing psychological about background checks? How deep are they going? And that's the fear I have. Who has access to underneath the plane or could eventually get a plane? Because on a commercial plane nowadays, you try to get up and do something, everybody's going to jump you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Take the poll question there. Reverend Van Moody joins us straight ahead. Very interesting conversation we're going to have. I just feel it. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Race is vitally important. In fact, a new poll out suggests how important race is, considering the fact that in this country we're struggling. Apparently, 61% of Americans say that racial tensions have increased over the past year. Joining us now is a man who met with the president and faced some backlash. He is the pastor and founder of the Worship Center Church in Birmingham, Alabama, author of a new book called Desired by God. Pastor Van Moody, thank you so much for coming on today, Pastor. And first and foremost, when you got the invitation to come and meet and sit down with the president, did you hesitate at all?
Well, not the second time. This recent invitation that just happened a couple of weeks ago that everybody's responding to is interesting and unfortunate because I think many people don't know that was not my first time. I was actually invited back in April, and I did hesitate with that meeting because I did not quite understand whether it was going to be a sincere meeting, if the motives were going to be right. But I went anyway, and I sat down with Jared Kushner and his team, and we made a lot of progress with the First Step Act, which is a bipartisan bill for prison reform. In fact, it's passed the House. It has yet to pass the Senate. And so this meeting that happened a few weeks ago was actually a follow-up. So, no, this second meeting was not, at least going in, I didn't think that it was going to be a big deal.
You know, we're a nation that is, if you look at the media, we are, and there is, as you well know, there are certain things they sell. If it bleeds, it leads on the news. What's going to get the most clicks and likes? But if you look at a lot of things, the tension between, blacks and whites and people of color and whites and the Republicans and the Democrats is at a boiling point. The reality, it's not so much that is it's just right now we do have some tension in this country, but you chose to go and sit down and talk. And there's things that you don't agree with when it comes to the president, particularly immigration and whatnot. But why don't we want to sit down with one another anymore? What's wrong with having a conversation rather than a debate anymore?
Well, and I totally agree. I think that's why I wanted to go. I think that, number one, there's been a number of things that have been said and done. We are, I think, right at about a year's anniversary removed from Charlottesville. And so that's just an example of things that I think have contributed to certain groups of people in our country feeling like, maybe they're not wanted or maybe they're not respected. But at the same time, I think we have an obligation, I think, for humanity, but then particularly me being a person of faith, I think we have an obligation to move beyond the anger and to find common ground, because if we don't do that, I don't think that our country will move forward. And I think that we will follow a path that will lead to more hurt and more deaths and more destruction than peace and reconciliation. And so that's why I went. And I hope that even the vitriol and the abuse and the attacks and the bullying that I've received in some way will serve to continue to stress the need for us to come together. We have got to figure out a way forward beyond name calling and hate and vitriol, because too many lives are at stake. And I think that our country is better than that. We are a great country because years and years and years ago, through difficulty, people understood the importance of coming together and talking and communicating beyond conflicts so that our country as a whole could heal and move forward. And I think we still have that same obligation.
Talking to Pastor Van Moody, founding pastor of the Worship Center, Christian Center in Birmingham, Alabama, a new book out called Desired by God. You talk about finding common ground, and one thing I think both Republicans and Democrats can find some common ground, or at least looking to, is prison reform, because I think we do need prison reform, and we need some justice reform in this country. And you went out there, you met with them in April, you did it again, and you faced some flack for it. But the reality is we're not going to get that reform in a meaningful way if we don't sit down and talk. How is that moving along?
Well, what's interesting is the First Step Act bill, which was the bill that I've been involved with, actually has bipartisan support. And so I'm encouraged. I'm hopeful. It has passed the House. I'm hopeful that it will pass the Senate. And so I do think that across the aisles that there's a lot of individuals that want to see prison reform, because I think that they understand that this is an issue that affects too many people that we can't ignore it. But then the other thing is it's an economic issue, because one of the biggest issues facing a lot of corporations in our country, in particular in Alabama, is the issue of workforce development. And there's been a lot of movement in a positive direction with companies seeing the benefit of hiring people that have turned their life around, been rehabilitated coming out of prison. So part of the reason I went, even in the midst of the potential for all the negativity that's come on the backside, is because there are too many people that are voiceless and marginalized and disenfranchised that don't have a voice, and really don't have many people speaking up for them in prisons. I'm an African-American male, and while African-Americans make up only 12 to 13% of the U.S. population, they make up well over 35% of the prison population. And so for me, prison reform and workforce development is not just a prison issue. It's a family issue. It's a community issue. So many stats suggest that children that are growing up with either one or two parents in the prison system are 3 times more likely to have a run-in with the criminal justice system. So all of these collateral issues are connected to this issue of prison reform. And I just believe that particularly people of color ought to understand this, because too many of us are incarcerated. So we've got to do something about it.
Absolutely. I'm one of these people that I've in my show here, we're different than most. I think prison reform and I think justice reform is an absolute must. I think too often not we get caught up in the black and white and the them versus us kind of baloney that, quite frankly, Pastor, I just don't buy into. I think we've got a lot of issues that we need to address, and people who come out of prison who, they basically just thrown out and say, hey, you know what, there, go try to make it. And as you know, the trouble is they try to make it often. They realize that they're not given that second chance. And from that second chance not coming, a lot of times they just turn back to the only ways they know, which is not a way to show that there's success out there. And I think we absolutely must find a way to give people a second chance, because I think, you've paid your debt. You should have an opportunity at a second chance and a clean slate.
Absolutely. And, I appreciate your heart on this issue, not just prison reform, but, moving beyond it's a black issue or it's a white issue. I just think that we have commonality. We all are a part of a great country, and I think that we've got to work to make it better. I am not oblivious to the issues in our country, but I do believe that we're called to be a part of the solution and not to add to the problem. And particularly as a person of faith, I just think that God is bigger than politics. I think that God is bigger than race. And I just believe that God is for all people. And that's really one of the main tenets that I really try to put forth in the new book, Desired by God. But I think that whether you're a person of faith or not, I think you appreciate the importance of us being unified and finding ways to come together.
Absolutely. Talking to Van Moody, is the pastor at the Worship Center Christian Church in Birmingham, Alabama. Desired by God is his new book. You met with the president. What, did you realize there was going to be some backlash from some people out there who were, they look at the president as not a uniter but a divider? A lot of people think he's just, this guy is essentially, speaking for the Ku Klux Klan. Did you know there was going to be some backlash but did you know it was going to be as bad as it was?
Well, I did go in recognizing that the potential for backlash was going to be there. But then once again, the first meeting in April went so well. But the difference between April and the current meeting a couple of weeks ago was that, the media was allowed to come in for a few moments. And what I actually thought, and perhaps maybe I'm guilty of giving people the benefit of the doubt, I thought that people would recognize that what the media captured and even the transcript that they released was not the whole meeting. It was just the snippet of what the media was allowed to see. So there was a lot of conversation, positive and productive conversation on the issue that happened before they came in and even after they left. And there are people who say, well, it was just a photo op for him and he was using you guys. Well, I can't speak for the president on what his motives were, but what I can tell you is that his team, Jared Kushner and others, they have demonstrated a sincerity on this issue, and he spoke to that. He spoke to it, told us about how Jared brought it to his attention and how he recognized the importance of moving forward on this issue and was committed to that. So all I can do at this point is to continue to work towards an issue that is so big. It's actually bigger than him. It's bigger than whether a Republican or a Democrat is in the office. This is something that could benefit a lot of people. And I actually hoped that people would see that. But unfortunately, the animosity in our country is so bad that at times I don't think people are even open to logic. I think they're led by their hate and their vitriol.
What did your congregation feel about it? Because, again, you'd been out there in April and you went back. Were some people surprised that you went back or some who didn't even know you'd probably gone in April and then this became a big thing? How did they take it?
My congregation was very supportive, and one of the reasons why is because we have been in the around Birmingham and around the state of Alabama. We've really been on the forefront as it relates to prison ministry. We're in 8 different prisons consistently. We've seen hundreds of people turn their lives around. Many people have gotten out of prison and joined our campuses. And so I think our congregation gets it partly because we've just got a long track record of really working on this issue. I think that there were a few of them that were just concerned about the hate, and the backlash and the threats and stuff that I received. But in terms of my heart on the issue, they were very clear on it. Plus, I've written a number of op-eds. I've done a number of interviews that have been critical of, the president on a variety of issues like immigration and other things. And so my track record of being critical and trying to stand for fairness and balance and truth for all people, I think has been pretty well established, and my congregation got it. I just think that they were really hurt on the backside with the people that, vilified me, threatened me, leveled all kinds of accusations that were not true. And it's surprising, that people just went to that depth of anger on the backside of me trying to help people. But I think our congregation understood it.
Talking to Pastor Van Moody. He's the founding pastor at the Worship Center Christian Church in Birmingham. He's got a new book out called Desired by God. Last question. Appreciate you coming on today. Talk about this issue. Moving forward, how do we come together? You know, to me, I've always said common ground is out there. Usually it's one or two issues that really fire people up. And I've known this, having traveled the world. I'll be somewhere, Pastor, and I'll see somebody, and they've got a Minnesota Vikings jacket on, or they have an Alabama, hat on, and I'll say, Roll Tide or something like that. Next thing you know, we've got a laugh going on. I don't care about, black, white, Democrat, Republican, whatever it is. We've got some common ground. How do we as a nation try to find some of that common ground when we, not only are we divided, when we try to come together, the people that try it often get vilified?
Sure. Well, I think two important things. I think number one, as a country and as citizens of America, we've got to commit to practicing the 101% rule. And that is, let's find the 1% that we have in common, and let's give that 100% of our attention. And I think if we do that, I think we can see positive change. But then also for leaders, I think more leaders have got to be courageous enough to stand up and to put the needs of other people in front of them. I was always taught the great leaders sacrifice their own needs for the needs of others. And I believe that a part of the challenge that we're wrestling with in our country is that the legitimate needs of a lot of other people have been placed on the altar of our own egos and our own selfish gain, and even our likes and dislikes. And we've got to turn that around. We need more courageous leaders, the likes of people like Martin Luther King Jr. or Abraham Lincoln and others throughout history who were willing to sacrifice their own ego or their own name or their own credibility, in a sense, because the issue that they were fighting for was so much bigger than a person. And I believe that. And I believe that's what a good leader does. And if we can see more of that, I think more and more people will step up. There are actually more people that are for positivity, that are for us moving together and figuring out solutions than there are people who are against it. It's just that the people who are against it are often the most vocal and the loudest. But when people see more leaders doing the right thing, I think you're going to see a groundswell of support coming out from all parts of our country.
Absolutely. I love it. Pastor Van Moody, founding pastor of the Worship Center Christian Church in Birmingham. New book's out called Desired by God, a strong, soul-satisfying relationship with God by understanding who he is and how much he loves you. Appreciate you coming on, Pastor, and I hope to have you on again to talk more in depth about second chances and the way we go about prison reform and even justice reform in this country. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson, and a lot of stuff there. And in this nation where we are at times divided more than ever, I love to tell people we're not as divided as we think, but what we see on TV and a lot of times what we read, because the negative sells much easier than the positive does, that's why you see a lot of that stuff. But we can find the common ground. I think we can move forward in this country. At Chad Benson Show. Text the program 323-538-2423. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to Chad. No, not the country. The institution. The Chad Benson Show.
Oh my God. Megalodon. The Meg blew expectations out of the water over the weekend. The giant shark flick opening in first with $44.5 million. That's nearly 60% over expectations.
We're on a roll, baby.
Spike Lee's Black Klansman opened in fifth with $10.7 million, about what was expected. The horror flick Slender Man bowed in fourth.
What is it about dogs that brings us so much joy?
The feel-good comedy Dog Days not feeling the love from moviegoers, a 12th place debut.
That's because I got gobbled up by the Meg. I saw the Meg. I love the Meg for what it is. Cheesy, fun movie, popcorn movie. When you think summer movie, that is the Meg. It's exactly what it is. It's a popcorn movie. It was fun. It made $150 million globally, and it's not even open up in China, which is, as I was telling you guys the other day, that's what this movie is made for. As much as it would, it would be fun here and it may do okay business, it was really targeted towards China, and it was fun. And I was surprised to see that people gave it a decent score. because I thought, oh, people are going to hammer this movie. But even some critics I read said the same thing I just said. It's a popcorn-based movie, and it was a lot of fun. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Interesting, fun interview with Pastor Moody right there. I enjoy talking about serious stuff like this, and I think we can come a long way just using our words. Sometimes I think we're like toddlers. It's almost you want to say, use your words to a lot of people out there. And they just don't know how to do it. And the words they do use are awful. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can also grab the podcast, iTunes, and go to thechadshow.com. Check out all the new stuff we got there, including new T-shirts. We'll talk about those soon, though. Check those things out. Hey, AMAC, they came to me. They said, hey, Chad, we're interested in your show. We like what you're doing. I said, hey, I'm interested in what you guys are doing. Let's see if we can have some sort of partnership here. Not a big fan of art. I do like what you're doing. You guys are advocating for great things like common sense, immigration reform, Social Security reform, Medicare reform, things like that. I like what you guys are doing. And what can we do with my listeners? And I said, how about we give your listeners all the benefits, your membership absolutely free, doesn't cost you a thing. I said, let's do it. 40% off movie tickets. 40% off theme parks like Disneyland, Disney World, SeaWorld, Legoland, just to name a few. Access to supplemental dental plans up to 60% off, retail and restaurant discounts, and all you have to do is sign up. No tricks, no credit card required, none of that stuff. 1 year free. Go to amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad or call 888-355-1668. That's 888-355-1668. No cost, no tricks, no credit card required. It's a year membership, all of the benefits, and then some. Check it out for yourself. amac.us/Chad. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Take our poll about race on Twitter or Facebook. At Chad Benson Show. You can text the program 323-538-2423. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
She was a reality TV star who wound up working in a reality TV star's White House. By her own admission, Omorosa, Manigault Newman, and Donald Trump used each other. In her new book, Unhinged, an insider's account of the Trump White House, Omorosa writes, Donald and I had a symbiotic relationship. I gave him ratings, and he gave me, a woman of color, opportunities.
I adore you. We've had tremendous success together. You helped make me a star, but Omorosa, you're fired.
Well, she's out and about everywhere this past weekend talking about her book and the claims in her book. And it's really interesting because this is the craziness of where we live in this world right now, where what's true, what's not true, where she comes out, makes all these claims. She heard the N-word. She had all these tapes. And she says, well, no, I didn't. And it's nuts. And he fired her. He didn't fire her. Now he's coming out and bashing her. And quite frankly, there's a lot of things that I'm worried about with this. It has nothing to do with what's on tape or what's not on tape as far as did he say something or did he not say something. It has to do with the fact that she taped something. She did. In the White House, talking to the President of the United States and other people in the administration. She taped conversations. I believe she's going to have some issues going forward, and it's crazy. And remember, for books, your perspective, but what sells? Sensationalism sells. Sex sells, right? You know what doesn't sell more often than not when it comes to things? The truth. Because it's boring a lot of times, right? Because it is. I think, and to me, I look at John Kelly in the White House. If Trump would have dropped the N-bomb around John Kelly, I think everybody would know. First of all, we can't keep anything quiet. Nothing. He calls another foreign leader within 30 seconds. Everybody knows what they talked about. He says something in the White House within 5 seconds. It's tweeted by somebody. We know what's going on. Much like with collusion, if some of these things that quote unquote are supposed to happen, it would have come out. And I've got Tom Arnold's running. I got tapes of him saying these things on The Apprentice, blah, blah, blah. Well, where are they? I'm a put up or shut up kind of guy. I want action. You're going to put stuff in front of me. I want to see what you have. Right? You saying I heard somebody who showed me a tape and then I heard. I want to know. Right? I want to know.
On this phone conversation, I was told exactly what Donald Trump said. Yes, the N-word and others in a classic Trump goes nuclear rant. During production, he was mic'd, and there's definitely an audio track. For over a year, I'd been so afraid of hearing the specifics from someone who'd been in the room. Hearing the truth freed me from that fear. Did you hear the tape, or did you hear a description of the tape?
I had an opportunity to sit down with the person who actually has a copy of the tape, and I heard his voice as clear as you and I are sitting here.
You have heard the tape?
I have heard
since the publication of this book?
Absolutely.
So you know it exists?
And I know it exists.
Then where is it? Where is it? If it's out there, let me tell you guys this right now. Big Trump supporters, all of you out there that are massive Trump supporters. If there's a tape out there and he's dropped the N-word, as far as I'm concerned, you're done, right? Right? Absolutely. Where is it? If somebody on The Apprentice, and this has been the big thing, somebody, because Tom Arnold's been screaming about this for a while, and he's just, for whatever reason, the exact opposite of Roseanne. His whole thing, if Roseanne wanted to prop him up, Roseanne wanted to, she was not afraid to say how much she loved him, and she went off the rails, and it cost her. Tom Arnold's the exact opposite. He said he's doing everything he can, and he's been shouting about this, that there's somebody who's recorded tapes on The Apprentice, hot mic, him using the N-word and saying some other things. Where is it? That's all I'm asking for. Right? That, to me, is the where is it. You're accusing the President of the United States of dropping the N-word. I have people saying, well, so did President Barack Obama. Slow your roll. I want to see it. I want to hear it. Right now, we have issues in this country when it comes to race, and I think a lot of it is overblown, but I think some of it is real. I think a lot of it has been put in our face so much that we're told we have issues after issues after issues after issues after issues. After a while, we start to believe it. But we've got a president who people in the media always say he has a dog whistle, and out come the crazy, lunatic, white supremacists, all of these people. There are some people out there like that, 100%. Not going to deny it. But you say this, then you don't say it. Then you take it back, then you kind of say it. I think if Kelly would have heard it, he'd have been gone. And if somebody's out there that really has it, then just put up or shut up.
Once I heard it for myself, it was confirmed what I feared the most, that Donald Trump is a con and has been masquerading as someone who is actually open to engaging with diverse communities. But when he talks that way, the way he did on this tape, it confirmed that he is truly a racist.
Now, they're pushing back on it big time. And you know what really interests me is Kelly and him speaking. Again, the trouble that I think she should be in for taping the likes of the chief of staff for the White House, the president himself. You are, as far as I'm concerned, there are some serious issues here. Now she's saying, well, he's conning everybody because he's insane. He's losing his mind. But it's interesting to listen to the her and Kelly speaking, because what he's essentially saying is a lot of stuff you're doing is unethical, right? We don't know if we can trust you. Things aren't very, how should we say, above board with you, Omorosa. Things aren't really above, and I don't hear the pushback. Well, what do you mean? If somebody came to you today and said, hey, I believe you're unethical, I believe the things you're doing are wrong, and you don't push back, and your job's at it? I mean, look, first and foremost, what Trump did hiring her, what are you doing? Honestly, what are you doing? Really? You're paying her the most you could pay somebody, and you're giving her a decent position? Come on, what are you doing? But she's got a lot of stuff. And remember, when you're selling a book, what's going to sell the book? The sizzle. Rarely is it the steak, right? It's the sizzle. What happens when you ever been in a Mexican restaurant and the fajitas fly by you and you're like, oh, I should have ordered that, right? And your meal could be incredible, but it's that sizzle. It's the same thing. She's selling the sizzle. So you got to go out there and you got to sell the sizzle.
Oh, do you believe he used it about you?
Possibly, because Donald Trump talks about everyone behind their backs. You leave the room, Chuck, he has a nickname probably for you. He has a nickname for everyone in his administration and in his circle. So I am pretty certain that he's probably said some very derogatory things about me. In fact, yesterday, on this moment before Charlottesville, the anniversary of Charlottesville, instead of talking about how to unify the nation, he actually insulted me by calling me a lowlife.
Well, you're going out there telling him all these horrible things, and look, I have no doubt in my mind that when you leave the room, he probably does have a nickname for you. All right, let's not pretend that he doesn't. Let's not pretend he doesn't talk behind people's back. Like, that's one of the things I'm like, okay, I'll give her that. But you taped the president. There are issues there. And you taped John Kelly.
Omorosa says she recorded White House Chief of Staff John Kelly.
We've got to talk to you about leaving the White House. It's come to my attention over the last few months that there's been some pretty, in my opinion, significant integrity issues.
Significant integrity issues. Think about that.
I think it's important to understand that if we make this a friendly departure, we can all be, you can look at your time here in the White House as a year of service to the nation, and then you can go on without any type of difficulty in the future relative to your reputation.
Giving her a way out. Giving her a way out. Don't hear her pushing back.
The Chief of Staff of the United States, under the direction of the President of the United States, threatening me on damage to my reputation and things getting ugly for me. That's downright criminal.
You taped. First of all, we've seen you on TV for years, long before this. Secondly, you taped the president. You've got your own issues. You do. You've got your own issues. And I think there's going to be some issues out of this. I really, really do. Whether you like the president or hate the president, let's just take away who the president is and say that somebody in the White House taped conversations. You know who starts to do that? People who are worried that something's going to get out about them, so they want to make sure that they look better. John Kelly's one of the people inside of the White House where I go, that guy is above board as it gets. The other stuff, the craziness that flies around, which I'm sure drives him nuts, that guy right there, that guy, I get that guy. I like that guy. But this is what happens, Trump, when you put people in a position of power that have no reason to be there. You have more drama than you need. Most of the time when it comes to Trump, and there's stuff that frustrates the hell out of me, I look and I say it's all self-inflicted. This is another self-inflicted issue by bringing somebody in that should never have been there. And it's cost you. And let me tell you something. Everybody now that has a chance to work at the White House, you know what you have a chance of? A book deal. Think about that. Everybody in there is leaving there with a smile on their face and a 6 or 7 figure advance and a book deal. It's on you because the way you've allowed it to go. You put people around who not only have your back but have an understanding of what's going on rather than the drama. It works out better. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Got a poll question up. We'll touch on that. It is the Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
So we have fun with this. Maxine Waters has some fighting words for the president. President's firing back.
What is your reaction to the continual attacks of the President of the United States against you personally?
I'm not going to be diverted in what I'm doing to bring attention to this lying con man. I am going to continue to resist him. I'm going to fight. I'm going to tell the truth about him. And I'm not going to allow him to somehow intimidate me.
Maxine. Boy, oh boy, I watch her. Crazy Maxine. Low IQ person.
I do my work. I'm going to continue to do that, but I'm going to continue to go after him. I have been after him from the minute he revealed himself and defined himself when he was running for office, when he disrespected women and talked about grabbing women by their private parts, where he mimicked and mocked a disabled journalist. This is a lying, deplorable, divisive, dangerous man.
Maxine Waters, the new face of the Democrat Party. Maxine Waters, she's a real beauty.
You know what we get out of that as voters and as people who've instilled these people into a place of power? We get nothing. We get name calling. We get all of this stuff. You know what we get out of it? Nothing. That's politics nowadays. Politics nowadays is a joke. The other side has to fail for your side to win. That's how it goes now. I hope the other side fails so I can be president. I hope the other side fails so I can be Speaker of the House. Jeez, enough of this crap. We're on the same team, red, white, and blue, Americans. We're on the same GD team, for God's sakes. Somebody pull your head out of your butt and go, you know what? I'm going to do all I can to make sure that we move in a direction that is beneficial for all of the people in this country. You're not going to always win. And by the way, there's always going to be somebody who's unhappy. But instead what we have are two parties who sit around here and go, low IQ, I'm going to do all I can to stop him. It does nothing. It does absolutely nothing for anybody. It's ridiculous. Politics in this country has become an absolute joke. It's a caricature. We should see it in a movie. That is what we are getting. We're not even trying to beat each other with the best ideas. It's a race to the bottom, not a race to the top. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. It really is. I just sit back and I'm just like, wow. Wow. This is what we've got. This is what we've got. Enough. Enough. How about we try to do the best that we possibly can, realize our differences, try to bring as many people as we can into a conversation to discussing something, rather than huddling over in the corner with your team, if you will, and then hoping your team, which happens to be the other team, fails. What? Yeah. Well, we're all on the same side, right? I mean, there's Democrats and Republicans, but last I checked, when one side wins and the other side loses, it's not like you stop being an American. It's like, well, the Democrats won, so us Republicans are no longer Americans again. Whew, that sucks. Doesn't work that way. Does not work that way. It's a joke. It's a race to the bottom. That's all this is becoming, is a race to the bottom. And a hope and prayer that you can do enough to disrupt the other side to the point where they fail. And you can celebrate. You don't outdo them with your ideas. You try to trip them. And then you claim victory. Oh, God. I just sit here and think, how did we get here? When did we arrive? Look, politics has always been nasty business. Right? I think we all know that. But it's gotten to the point now where, even when they fought back in the day, way back in the day, when they had the powder wigs and the whole 9 yards, while they fought with one another, eventually, once they got through some stuff, it was time for business. It's not that way anymore. We forget that. We say, well, they've always fought. Yeah, they always did. And there was a time when it fought to the point where it was really bad. And we decided to take up arms with one another. Not that we're going to do that again. But it is a joke that it is a race to the bottom, and our want to see the other side fail so bad, because any success that's not your team's is a failure, which is a bunch of crap. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. Good God. How did we get here? We got a poll question update. It's about race. New CBS poll conducted by YouGov finds 61% of Americans say that racial tension has increased over the last 12 months. What do you think? Is it worse? 6% say better, 49% say worse, 45% say it's about the same. Take it at Chad Benson Show or on the Facebook page as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
That 47-year-old Michael Drake shot and killed Marquise McLaughlin July 19th isn't the question. Surveillance video clearly shows McLaughlin pushing Drake to the ground outside a Clearwater convenience store. Drake then pulls his gun from his pocket and, still sitting on the ground, shoots the unarmed McLaughlin in the chest. The Pinellas County Sheriff had refused to charge Drake, citing the state's stand your ground law. Drake is now charged with manslaughter, a clear sign prosecutors think they can beat the stand your ground offense.
Yeah, the prosecutor decided, hey, we're going to overrule the sheriff here because we've seen the video and this was murder, period. This was absolute, this is what it is. This is murder, and period. And I have seen the video, and this Drake guy had already had other incidents where it felt like he was looking, like the gun gave him power. He felt like he was looking for stuff. He had other incidents in 2012 where he brandishes his gun on a few occasions. This guy, well, quite frankly, I believe anytime he had a chance to stick his nose in somewhere, he felt like he always had the upper hand because he was carrying.
Michael Drake, period point blank, is a cold-blooded murderer.
And the stand your ground there's for a reason. The sheriff said, look, it's a cut and dry case, right? He got pushed down. But the coroner said, look, the guy was turning and walking away when he got shot. I've seen the video. He said he feared for his life. I don't know if he really feared for his life, but maybe he did. But the reality is the prosecutor said, you know what, we're going to take your recommendation, Sheriff, but we're going to move on from that.
They went to the scene themselves once the case was turned over to them. They did their interviews, and they made the correct charging decision.
It's going to be interesting to see what takes place, I mean, you're looking, again, it's manslaughter. It's not murder. And in a state that's already seen Trayvon Martin and many other issues, and this is just another issue when it comes to the stand your ground, why people are looking at this saying, okay, so, is this the right thing? I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know what was said. I've seen the video. If you've not seen the video, I understand stand your ground, right? Somebody invades your space. You have the right to defend yourself. But then people are going to ask, well, how far can you go to defend yourself? And I look at this guy, and he just comes across as very Barney Fife to me, much like George Zimmerman. Right? George Zimmerman was out, and he was in over his head. He was getting his ass kicked by a 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, and he panicked. And I look at the situation, and I think it was a horrible situation. Nobody should lose their life. I think this guy, a little bit more, there's definitely some Barney Fife, but some Barney Fife with some want, right? Like Barney Fife, hello Andy, he would do his thing, but he never had a bullet inside of his gun. This guy was walking around trying to play like Barney Fife, but he was locked and loaded. But it's not murder, it's manslaughter.
In second-degree murder, you have to have a depraved state of mind. This usually comes from those who know each other.
Which obviously this guy didn't know him, and it all started when he showed up, and Marquise's girlfriend, Brittany, was in the car with her 4-month-old and their, I think, 3-year-old, and Marquise was in the store. She was in a handicapped parking space without a placard, and he said something. They got into an argument. He exited the store. They had words. He pushed him down, then turned, and then that's when everything took place. Now, what he could say is, I thought he was going to go get a gun. But they've talked to eyewitnesses. Who knows how people are going to look at this? And now you're going to have a chance where it's going to go to trial potentially if they don't plead it out, depending how good his defense is. But the reality is it was a horrible situation, and it's another reason that people are going to go, well, do we need stand your ground? And the problem with stand your ground is for the average law-abiding citizen who's not looking for something, and I get a sense this guy's always feeling like that gun backs his mouth up. Do you know what I mean? The average person walking down the street who you have no idea has a gun and it doesn't want to be in any kind of situation, is non-confrontational like 99.9% of us, you know what? It's like everything else. It's a good thing. I can understand that. The problem is most of the time when you hear stories like this, it's not those people who got into a situation where they were protecting themselves or put themselves in harm's way to protect somebody else and then had to act upon it. Nope. A lot of the times, and majority of the time, what you hear is this. A person who's willing to open their mouth and has on numerous occasions and brandish the gun on numerous occasions because that's what gives him some power. That's my assessment of this. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet us. We got a poll question up about race in this country. A year ago, we had Charlottesville. All of this stuff was happening. And now we're in a situation where a year on, according to a new CBS poll conducted by YouGov, 61% of Americans say that racial tension has increased over the past year. What do you think? Has it increased? 6% say it's better, but almost half of you, 48% say it's worse, and 46% say it's about the same. What do you say? You can text the program 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter.
They're everywhere, whether you notice them or not. By the end of 2016, nearly 2 million robotics have been put to work. By 2020, we're looking at 3,053,000 units. The robotics industry is expected to rise to $67 billion by 2025. Billions of dollars are being invested into advancing automation faster than ever, making automations that once seemed unimaginable a reality, like driverless cars.
It is a reality. Robots are here. Robots are working. And I tell people this who are afraid, well, this, there goes the neighborhood. It's going to be tough. This is the way it's going to go. We're going to need a universal basic income. It's all going to be this crazy Armageddon-like, world that we're going to be living in. It's going to be like Blade Runner. And I say, first and foremost, A, that's not going to happen. Secondly, don't be afraid of what's coming. Embrace the opportunity. Those who embrace it will be absolutely fine. Those who fight it nonstop are going to struggle. They're going to struggle. And they're here. Robots are here. Now, you're going to get the likes of all these people are going to scream universal basic income, universal basic income. Partly, isn't it amazing that the people who always scream that are the people who've made all of their money and then some? And they're essentially telling you, well, we've created all this stuff. Your life is screwed.
Robots have made strides in medicine, and some can even identify malignant tumors more effectively than radiologists. To make up for jobs humans are losing to robots, big-name skeptics like SpaceX and Tesla CEO Elon Musk say we'll need a universal basic income to make up for the lost jobs. But are robots really beating humans at their own game?
It's a bunch of crap. It is a bunch of crap. Look, we've been automating since God knows when, right? It's been going on forever and a day. We stopped churning butter a long time ago. We've been automating. One of the reasons that we won the war and that Germany had a huge fear of the United States was because Hitler knew that with automation, with what Ford and them could do, that we could roll out ship after ship and bomber after bomber and do things. People were freaking out, but you know what? People still worked. People still work. We've always worked. We find a way around it. And the other thing is, and I've always looked at this when it comes to robots and automation, is I get the fear side of things. I understand that. For a lot of people out there, because they have limited experience in life, meaning they've worked one or two kind of jobs, and they don't understand it, and they're afraid of change. It's kind of like the newspaper industry, right? In the movie and TV industry. They freaked out over Netflix. They freaked out over, all of these things. They fought the internet rather than embrace change. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to embrace change. But guess what? for the change that's coming, meaning, yeah, your job may be automated, doesn't mean you don't have a chance at growing and increasing your wage by learning something new.
For example, in the past decade and a half, between 2000 and 2015, the UK lost 800,000 jobs to new technologies, but created 3.5 million new, often better-paying ones. Despite a hesitance to welcome automation, robots can make economies more productive and actually create jobs.
What? They can make us better, more productive, actually increase our wages? What? Again, embracing change is not a bad thing.
Many populations are aging. By 2030, there will be at least 300 million more people aged 65 and older than there were in 2014. And it's in those countries with aging populations that automation is growing fastest.
America, Japan, the West, Europe, things like that. Absolutely. We're not having kids. We're not replacing people as they die. We're going to need this. We are. But the opportunities in front of you, and if you're willing to embrace it, you'll be all right. If you're not willing to embrace it, and you're going to struggle, and you're going to fight it, you're going to pay the price. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Speaking of automation, speaking of jobs, ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. Amazing. You've got a job. You're frustrated because you can't find the perfect hire. You can now, and you can do it for free. That's right. You can post your job for free today. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. Let me tell you what ZipRecruiter does. Post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. Then they've got powerful matching technology that will actually scour all of those resumes, thousands of resumes. They're going to find the people with the right experience. They're going to invite them to apply for your job. And as they start to do that, boom, all these applications are coming in. They're going to highlight the top candidates. So think about that. Think about them doing a majority of the work and then saying, hey, we've got the best here of the best. ZipRecruiter, in fact, is so effective. 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. Boom! That's right. Highest rated hiring site in America. That's what ZipRecruiter is. And right now, my listeners, that's you guys, post your job for free. That's right, free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. ZipRecruiter.com/BENSON. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. We got a little say what straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Feel free to punk this punk rocker any time of the day or night. Reach Chad on Twitter at Chad Benson Show and on Instagram at Chad Benson Show. And oh yeah, the Chad Benson Show on Facebook too. Punk that.
How'd you guys like a little Bibles and beer? Say what?
The Greater Purpose Community Church in Santa Cruz sold its building recently and hopped over to the Food Lounge to hold its services, a community space with plenty of beer taps. Pastor Chris Van Hall asked the owner to keep the bar open.
There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't drink alcohol in a responsible manner.
Why not serve beer when they're reading Bible verses? I thought it was genius.
Absolutely. Go ahead, right? You're like, that's exactly what Jesus meant when Jesus said, you guys get it? Say what?
Every Sunday, the parishioners join to pray, listen, and drink.
We have a glass of beer and a glass of wine, and it's a comfortable atmosphere where people can not only listen to a progressive take on theology, but they can also engage in conversation. And I thought to myself, like, wouldn't it be great if a church could figure out a way to make a product where they split the profits with local community service organizations? And we were like, hey, we love beer. We love making beer. Why not do a brewery? Manufacturing of the beer, the mead, and hopefully the cider is going to be downstairs.
Progressive take on stuff. Remember Santa Cruz. And I have, like, my thing is, what time is this? Like, is it like, you're going to the 8 o'clock service in the morning and you're having a beer a little early, right? But whatever, right?
And Hall expects to donate 30 to 60% of the profits to charity. Crafting the new space will take about a year, he says, just in time for summer, where new members can come pray with a pint.
They can have one or two. As a matter of fact, if they have two, my sermon's always better.
By about 5, it's a party. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Producer Phil, I would like you to remind the audience out there at large listening, what could nature do to you?
Chad, it says right here, nature will mess you up.
Mess you up. Case in point, Nairobi, Kenya. Two tourists decide, hey, look, it's a hippopotamus. That looks awesome. What people don't realize is hippos are one of the most dangerous critters on the planet. They can weigh in excess of 3,000 pounds, run as fast as you, and can bite a human and a canoe together in half easily. That's what happened over the weekend when a tourist got too close. One of the tourists was injured, but the other one was killed. You don't mess with hippos. You don't. And you don't mess with nature. But I tell people this, and they don't get it through their head. He should have been listening. Nature's wonderful. That's why you go to a zoo, right? Like, that's where I'd be shocked. If you got attacked and eaten by a hippo at the zoo, unless you got in there, that's a shocking thing, right? Last week, we had the shark attacks in Texas. The guy's like, sharks don't live here. This isn't their home. No, sharks live in the ocean. It is their home. You're not in your home. Last time I checked, you're not Aquaman. Hippos, you get around a wild animal and you get near it, there is a chance it may turn on you. And it did. And remember, they can run as fast as humans at 3,000 pounds. And if you have ever seen the giant, huge teeth on a hippo, you want nothing to do with them. There's a reason when you go to Disneyland and they tell you on the old jungle cruise there, watch out for the hippos. They're tweedling their ears. They're angry. Oh, you better watch out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. Love hearing from you. You can also text the program. Simple and easy. Van is not a fan of me. Says, at Chad Benson thinks he's cool because he disagrees with the majority of conservative opinions, but that just makes you a liberal. I play devil's advocate for too long and confuse my short drives. You're a savior, though, and I love you. Appreciate that. No, I'm not playing devil's advocate on what? Like on the stand your ground? I think stand your ground is fine. I just think some people out there are looking for a reason to shoot people, and they're willing to be a little bit more lippy that if they didn't have that gun. I'm telling you right now, that guy in Florida doesn't have that gun, doesn't say the things he says. Doesn't. A lot of people probably don't. It's like, perfect example is this right here, right? The Twitter and all this stuff. A lot of people, I'm not talking about Van, but I'm talking about a lot of people out there. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of people out there say a lot of things that they wouldn't say to other people's faces for fear. Yeah. Just saying. Text the program, 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. By the way, National Left-Handers Day. Congratulations to you, Phil.
Thank you very much.
Because I do know you're yes, you are left-handed, so be well, my left-handed friend. Be well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
She was a reality TV star who wound up working in a reality TV star's White House. By her own admission, Omorosa Manigault-Newman and Donald Trump used each other. In her new book, Unhinged, an insider's account of the Trump White House, Omorosa writes, Donald and I had a symbiotic relationship. I gave him ratings, and he gave me, a woman of color, opportunities.
I adore you. We've had tremendous success together. You helped make me a star, but Omorosa, you're fired.
Well, she's out and about everywhere this past weekend talking about her book and the claims in her book. And it's really interesting because this is the craziness of where we live in this world right now, where what's true, what's not true, where she comes out makes all these claims. She heard the N-word, she had all these tapes, and she says, well, no, I didn't, and it's nuts. And he fired her, he didn't fire her, now he's coming out and bashing her. And quite frankly, there's a lot of things that I'm worried about with this. It has nothing to do with what's on tapes or what's not on tape as far as did he say something or did he not say something. It has to do with the fact that she taped something. She did. In the White House, talking to the President of the United States and other people in the administration, she taped conversations. I believe she's going to have some issues going forward, and it's crazy. And remember, for books, your perspective, but what sells? Sensationalism sells. Sex sells, right? You know what doesn't sell more often than not when it comes to things? The truth. Because it's boring a lot of times, right? Because it is. I think, and to me, I look at John Kelly in the White House. If Trump would have dropped the N-bomb around John Kelly, I think everybody would know. First of all, we can't keep anything quiet. Nothing. He calls another foreign leader within 30 seconds. Everybody knows what they talked about. He says something in the White House within 5 seconds. It's tweeted by somebody. We know what's going on. Much like with collusion, if some of these things that quote unquote are supposed to happen, it would have come out. And I've got Tom Arnold's running. I got tapes of him saying these things on The Apprentice, blah, blah, blah. Well, where are they? I'm a put up or shut up kind of guy. I want action. You're going to put stuff in front of me. I want to see what you have. Right? You saying I heard somebody who showed me a tape and then I heard, I want to know. Right? I want to know.
On this phone conversation, I was told exactly what Donald Trump said. Yes, the N-word and others in a classic Trump goes nuclear rant. During production, he was mic'd, and there's definitely an audio track. For over a year, I'd been so afraid of hearing the specifics from someone who'd been in the room. Hearing the truth freed me from that fear. Did you hear the tape, or did you hear a description of the tape?
I had an opportunity to sit down with the person who actually has a copy of the tape, and I heard his voice as clear as you and I are sitting here.
You have heard the tape?
I have heard
since
the
publication
tape.
Of this book?
Absolutely.
So you know it exists?
And I know it exists.
Then where is it? Where is it? If it's out there, let me tell you guys this right now. Big Trump supporters, all of you out there that are massive Trump supporters. If there's a tape out there and he's dropped the N-word, as far as I'm concerned, you're done, right? Right? Absolutely. Where is it? If somebody on The Apprentice, and this has been the big thing, somebody, because Tom Arnold's been screaming about this for a while, and he's just, for whatever reason, the exact opposite of Roseanne. His whole thing, if Roseanne wanted to prop him up, Roseanne wanted to, she was not afraid to say how much she loved him, and she went off the rails, and it cost her. Tom Arnold's the exact opposite. He said he's doing everything he can, and he's been shouting about this, that there's somebody who's recorded tapes on The Apprentice, hot mic, him using the N-word and saying some other things. Where is it? That's all I'm asking for. Right? That, to me, is the where is it. You're accusing the President of the United States of dropping the N-word. I know people can say, well, so did President Barack Obama. Slow your roll. I want to see it. I want to hear it. Right now, we have issues in this country when it comes to race, and I think a lot of it is overblown, but I think some of it is real. I think a lot of it has been put in our face so much that we're told we have issues after issues after issues after issues after issues. After a while, we start to believe it. But we've got a president who people in the media always say he has a dog whistle, and out come the crazy, lunatic, white supremacists, all of these people. There are some people out there like that, 100%. Not going to deny it. But you say this, then you don't say it. Then you take it back, then you kind of say it. I think if Kelly would have heard it, he'd have been gone. And if somebody's out there that really has it, then just put up or shut up.
Once I heard it for myself, it was confirmed what I feared the most, that Donald Trump is a con and has been masquerading as someone who is actually open to engaging with diverse communities. But when he talks that way, the way he did on this tape, it confirmed that he is truly a racist.
Now, they're pushing back on it big time. And you know what really interests me is Kelly and him speaking. Again, The trouble that I think she should be in for taping the likes of the chief of staff for the White House, the president himself, you are, as far as I'm concerned, there are some serious issues here. Now she's saying, well, he's conning everybody because he's insane. He's losing his mind. But it's interesting to listen to the her and Kelly speaking, because what he's essentially saying is a lot of stuff you're doing is unethical, right? We don't know if we can trust you. Things aren't very, how should we say, above board with you, Omorosa. Things aren't really above, and I don't hear the pushback. Well, what do you mean? If somebody came to you today and said, hey, I believe you're unethical, I believe the things you're doing are wrong, and you don't push back, and your job's at it? I mean, look, first and foremost, what Trump did hiring her, what are you doing? Honestly, what are you doing? Really? You're paying her the most you could pay somebody, and you're giving her a decent position? Come on, what are you doing? But she's got a lot of stuff. And remember, when you're selling a book, what's going to sell the book? The sizzle. Rarely is it the steak, right? It's the sizzle. What happens when you ever been in a Mexican restaurant and the fajitas fly by you and you're like, oh, I should have ordered that, right? And your meal could be incredible, but it's that sizzle. It's the same thing. She's selling the sizzle. So you got to go out there and you got to sell the sizzle.
Oh, do you believe he used it about you?
Possibly, because Donald Trump talks about everyone behind their backs. You leave the room, Chuck, he has a nickname probably for you. He has a nickname for everyone in his administration and in his circle. So I am pretty certain that he's probably said some very derogatory things about me. In fact, yesterday, on this moment before Charlottesville, the anniversary of Charlottesville, instead of talking about how to unify the nation, he actually insulted me by calling me a lowlife.
Well, you're going out there telling him all these horrible things, you know. And look, I have no doubt in my mind that when you leave the room, he probably does have a nickname for you. All right, let's not pretend that he doesn't. Let's not pretend he doesn't talk behind people's back. Like, that's one of the things I'm like, okay, I'll give her that. But you taped the president. There are issues there. And you taped John Kelly.
Omorosa says she recorded White House Chief of Staff John Kelly.
We've got to talk to you about leaving the White House. It's come to my attention over the last few months that there's been some pretty, in my opinion, significant integrity issues.
Significant integrity issues. Think about that.
I think it's important to understand that if we make this a friendly departure, we can all be, you can look at your time here in the White House as a year of service to the nation, and then you can go on without any type of difficulty in the future relative to your reputation.
Giving her a way out. Giving her a way out. Don't hear her pushing back.
The Chief of Staff of the United States, under the direction of the President of the United States, threatening me on damage to my reputation and things getting ugly for me. That's downright criminal.
You taped. First of all, we've seen you on TV for years, long before this. Secondly, you taped the president. You've got your own issues. You do. You've got your own issues. And I think there's going to be some issues out of this. I really, really do. Whether you like the president or hate the president, let's just take away who the president is and say that somebody in the White House taped conversations. You know who starts to do that? People who are worried that something's going to get out about them, so they want to make sure that they look better. John Kelly's one of the people inside of the White House where I go, that guy is above board as it gets. The other stuff, the craziness that flies around, which I'm sure drives him nuts, that guy right there, that guy, I get that guy. I like that guy. But this is what happens, Trump, when you put people in a position of power that have no reason to be there. You have more drama than you need. Most of the time when it comes to Trump and there's stuff that frustrates the hell out of me, I look and I say it's all self-inflicted. This is another self-inflicted issue by bringing somebody in that should never have been there. And it's cost you. And let me tell you something. Everybody now that has a chance to work at the White House, you know what you have a chance at? A book deal. Think about that. everybody in there is leaving there with a smile on their face and a 6 or 7 figure advance and a book deal. It's on you because the way you've allowed it to go. You put people around who not only have your back but have an understanding of what's going on rather than the drama. It works out better. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Got a poll question up. We'll touch on that. AMAC. A lot of people write me over the weekend. Chad, is it really free for a year? Yeah, absolutely it is. AMAC is incredible. Association of Mature American Citizens, right? They're the alternative to that left-leaning Goliath that is ARP. And let me tell you what you get with AMAC. First of all, they go out there and advocate on your behalf, on your thoughts, on your feelings, on the beliefs that you have for things like common sense immigration reform, Social Security reform, Medicare, things of that nature. And on top of that, they give you the best benefits around. How about this? 40% off movie tickets. Supplemental dental plans saving you up to 60%. Travel discounts, rental car, restaurant, retail, you name it, they've got it. Plus 40% off. Let's say you take your kids or grandkids to Disneyland. What? 40% off. Boom, sign me up. SeaWorld, Legoland, Six Flags. That's just to name a few. Their benefits are too numerous to mention. And when they came to me, I said, look, let's give away a year for free. And they said, you got it. So you can join right now. If you're over the age of 50, you can join for free. It's a year. It doesn't cost you a thing. They're not even going to ask you for your credit card. They want none of that stuff. No tricks, no cost, no credit card required. Just sign up. Go to amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad. Or you can call 888-355-1668. That's 888-355-1668 or online at amac.us/Chad. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We've got a poll question up today. It is about race as we talk about race throughout the show today because according to a new poll, CBS and YouGov, 61% of Americans say that racial tension has increased over the past year. What do you think? Has racial tension increased, decreased? 8% say it's better. 54% say it's worse. 38% of you say it's about the same. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can text us as well. It is the Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
The 29-year-old had worked as a ground services agent for 3.5 years. Friday night, he towed an empty plane out to the tarmac, boarded it, and took off. He eventually crashed on a small private island in Puget Sound. Now the FBI and the Alaska Air Group, which owns Horizon, have to determine how this apparently suicidal man was able to pass background checks and get a security clearance. CEO Brad Tilden.
Last night's event is going to push us to learn what we can from this tragedy so that we can ensure this does not happen again.
I have said it. I'll continue to say it. Who's flying in the plane next to me, I worry less about than who's put stuff underneath the plane. And this weekend, if you didn't hear, you had a guy, 29-year-old guy named Richard Russell, who grabbed the keys to a 70-seat plane and took it for a spin. And he was, who knows why? I mean, we'll find out over the next few days. But it is incredible. He did loop-de-loops in the plane. He did barrel rolls in the plane. And there was only one outcome that this guy was looking for, and that was to end it all. And it was crazy. And it goes back to what I've been talking about. The placebo effect that is the TSA. And that's all it is. Do you really think that they're stopping anything? No. To me, you look out there, when you're getting on that airplane, you're sitting there and you're seeing them loading bags. Who's watching them? They have access to everything. And they have access where people aren't really looking. And that's always been a bigger issue. For me, it's what's underneath the plane. I mean, you can go back decades. Look at Lockerbie. Look at all of those things. What is it? It's what's underneath the plane. Because somebody now, we know what's going to happen now. Somebody, if they got on a plane and their whole thing is, I'm going to overthrow everybody on this place, not going to happen nowadays. It's just not going to happen. Passengers won't let it happen. This guy, no. This guy got a hold of something. And I don't think he was going to crash into a building. That was never his thing. He just was done with life. They told him, hey, why don't you bring it on in?
Yeah, not quite ready to bring it down just yet, but holy smokes, I gotta stop looking at the fuel because it's going down quick.
Yeah, that was him right there. That was him, and he was, he was done. This was it. This was the end of his life. But could somebody get on and take over an airplane and do something? I've always said 9/11 event will never happen like it did before, meaning you get on a passenger plane, somebody's going to take it over, it's not going to happen. It's not. Because even if somebody got a bomb underneath there and they said they were going to detonate it, people just aren't going to let somebody commandeer an airplane anymore. It's not going to happen. But from underneath, absolutely. This guy, though, you could tell he was suicidal.
75 minutes after takeoff, the plane crashes into flames on a small island. Russell is killed.
Got a lot of people that care about me, and it's going to disappoint them that I did this. I would like to apologize to each and every one of them.
Yeah. Eventually killed himself. And people say have seen the wreck. It's just nothing left. It's just small, itty-bitty pieces. Terrifying. That's my fear. It's always been my fear. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Poll question up about race today. You can take it at Chad Benson Show or Facebook as well. Peter Strzok is gone. Why? We'll talk about the protest over the weekend in Charlottesville and D.C. as well. A lot of stuff still to get to. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Let me remind you that when the Republicans took power when President Obama was president of the United States, what Mitch McConnell said is the most important thing we can do is to make sure he does not succeed. If that wasn't a racist statement, that is unthinkable. We worked with President Bush, although we had our differences.
Well, slow your roll there. You really didn't work as much as you'd like to think, and neither side does. And that's the problem with our system. Think of D.C. as this, right? So you've got D.C. Think of it as an office, right? Could you imagine if you're working on something and your whole thing is, hey, floor 3 and floor 4, same company, but we're going to do all we can to undermine people working for us. So when we release our product sucks, but that's only because we want the other side to fail. That's the problem with our system. Our system's at the point where we have to have the other side fail so we can get our chance to get up to bat. Right? It's a baseball game. Bases are loaded. 1 out. You hope, hey, I hope this guy strikes out so I have a chance to be the hero. That is so ridiculous. It is. She's also upset because, well, people aren't happy with her and they're undermining her.
Why not give up the gavel?
Well, first of all, let me just say this, and I know NBC has been on a jag of this. This is one of their priorities to undermine my prospect as speaker. But putting that aside, I have not asked one person for a vote. I haven't asked a candidate or an incumbent for a vote. What's important, and I know better than anybody how important it is for us to win this election, because I see up close and personal what the Republicans and this president are doing.
This is NBC. No, it's not. People are looking at you, Nancy, and they're saying, you know what? You're past. You're past your sell-by date. We talked about it last week. Democrats look at you and go, you don't represent me anymore. Right? And they look at the far left and go, you don't represent me anymore. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues. But it just makes me laugh. She doesn't care. She wants power. She doesn't care who's in the White House as long as in fact, the reality is she would probably like Trump to stay there because it gives her more of a voice. When everybody's on the same page, it takes away your power. If you're the Speaker of the House and you're the opposition party to the president, you have more power. You're more vocal. But it's hilarious. She comes out, Mitch McConnell, that was racist. No, it's not. I don't think Mitch McConnell was being racist. The reality is Trump is finding out what Obama found out, which is the other side is going to do all they can to undermine you in every way, shape, or form so you don't succeed. Because if you say, this is where we are. If you succeed in politics, somehow the other side is less. That is awful. That is awful. They should be working for the people, but instead they work for the party and themselves. And that is the frustration I have in this day and age with all of the way that politics is geared up. It's all about having the other side fail so we can have our chance. Well, we don't want because our ideas should be better than their ideas. Does anybody else find that to be just ridiculous? I mean, it is. It absolutely is. It is absolutely ridiculous that we're in a position where we're hoping the other side fails so we can get up to bat. That is a joke. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Peter Strzok, remember that character? He is no longer part of the FBI.
Strzok's attorney has just released a statement saying, quote, the decision to terminate was taken in response to political pressure to punish Special Agent Strzok for political speech protected by the First Amendment, not on a fair and independent examination of the facts, end quote. President Trump has been very vocal in his criticism of Strzok, and his congressional supporters have used Strzok to make the case that the Mueller investigation has been tainted from the start. I'm Pierre Thomas, ABC News, Washington.
So he's gone. He's done. He's dusted. A lot of people thought, well, should he have been gone? What did they recommend? Didn't they say he should have 60-day suspension and maybe demoted? Everything in life is, as we've seen with just Nancy Pelosi, everything's it's politics. It's all politically motivated. Everything's politically motivated. It's all politically motivated. It's all politically motivated. He was going to be gone. When's the last time you saw anybody gone? Right? Remember the IRS? Nobody was gone. VA? Nobody was gone. They just move everybody around. Second in charge decided, you know what? It's over. It's done. He's out. He'll write a book. He'll be absolutely fine. That's what you do. You have the opportunity now. You're now a name for a lot of people. You'll get a 6-figure advance. You'll write a book. Talk about stuff. You can be open and honest now. You can talk about all kinds of things. And away you go. And away you go. I'm surprised, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. Why did it happen today? The question is, did they find something else out? Did they find a few more things out that maybe even had nothing to do with this? Maybe some other things? And they said, we should let him go. And he said, you know what? Fine, you let me go. I won't say anything. You won't say anything. We move on. That's what we were talking about earlier with Omorosa, where John Kelly's basically like, look, you go out there and we'll say it's a mutual parting of the ways. That way you save your reputation going forward and blah, 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 blah. Maybe they found something else out. Maybe they did. But for the right, Peter Strzok will always be that guy that was doing everything he can to taint the investigation and skew it towards the left and catching President Trump. For the left, he was just a guy who had his Second Amendment rights being stomped upon as far as the Trumps are looking at and saying, and the Trump fans, oh my God, you're taking away his Second Amendment rights. He has every right to say the things that he did, and he could still be a person that comes in with an unbiased, it is what it is. It's over. It's done with. And I'm seeing a lot of people are like, thank God. And it's done. It's done. But if you are Trump's people, right? If you're Trump's people, you got to be sitting around there going, all we have to do is just put a little bit, just a smidge of doubt in people's mind. And for a lot of people, they've done that. And Strzok was a huge reason for it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet along with us. It was, for anything else, it was just a sad, disappointing weekend if you were part of the Unite the Right, which just absolutely did not unite anything unless 12 or 15 of them was the uniting of it.
The Unite the Right group showed up in very small numbers. Only about 12 to 15 of them came in, and they were under heavy police escort all the way, kept far apart from the much larger crowd of counter-protesters who gave them an earful.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, with race where it is right now in this country, and that's our poll question today, it was good. I'm glad nobody showed up. It's, we're a year removed since Charlottesville. Are we in a better position? According to a new CBS YouGov poll, we're actually 61% of us think we're in a worse situation than we were as far as race goes a year ago. I don't think that to be true. Look, like anything else, the sizzle is the thing that sells. And we talk about it, whether it be a police shooting, right? Black cop shoots a white guy, nobody cares. White guy shoots a white guy, that's a cop, nobody cares. Black guy gets shot by a white guy, a white cop, we are going to talk about it, right? We're going to chat about it. It's going to be what? Because it gets numbers. There's narrative. It gets numbers. It gets numbers. And for people out there, remember, news is a business. Media is a business. Dollars and cents are a part of that. This weekend, it fizzled. I will tell you this right now. I'm sure there was a lot of people in the media and the higher ups thinking, I hope something happens out here because it's going to give people a lot to talk about. One of the things they won't talk about is Antifa. They were in Charlottesville, and this weird chant that just shows you how lost the plot some of these people are.
No borders, no walls, no USA at all.
So no borders, no wall, no USA at all. That is absolutely ridiculous, right? It is ridiculous. People won't talk about that. It was a joke this weekend, and I'm glad it is a joke. And I'm here to tell you right now, race in this country, it's tense. Why is that? Because we hear things. We hear how tense it is. We're told that if you voted for Trump, and there's 60-some million people that did, that you're a racist, right? So we automatically now think, well, half the country's got to have some sort of racial issue inside of their body because they voted for Trump. The media orchestrates just as much as a lot of people would like to think is actually happening in this country. They're pointing out all kinds of things. If 10 good things happen with race, but one bad thing does, if these 10 things aren't going to get ratings, why would they show it? So they're going to put something else up there. I'm not saying we don't have some issues in this country that need to be dealt with and talked about, but we can't even do that anymore without the fighting. Race in this country has improved. Is it tense right now? Absolutely. Do we need to work on things and talk about things? And that's the big thing right there. Talking about things, because anymore we can't talk about things. We can't talk about the things that we should be talking about. We can't look to bridge the divide, because the minute anybody starts talking about race, it starts to go south. Because too many people who are not interested in a solution, but more interested in problems and profiting off those problems, jump into it and make it a giant argument. The common ground is out there. Opportunity to talk about things is out there. But until we can put stuff aside and actually have the conversation and not a debate, it's going to be the same old, same old. And a year from now, we'll be talking about it again. And a year after that, we'll be talking about it again, because nobody wants to sit down and start having real conversations about things like race in this country. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. My pillow. Man, I took a nap yesterday. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have my little travel pillow. I was sitting on the couch. I'm like, I'll just kick back, watch some of the golf. Out like a light. Boom. Amazing. My pillow is incredible. It really is. If you've not tried it, you try it. You're going to love it. And what they're offering right now is awesome. First of all, it's 100% machine washable and dryable. That makes taking care of it so easy. Secondly, made in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. And most importantly, it works. You're going to sleep like you've never slept before. Here's what you get right now. MyPillow's 4-pack includes 2 premium pillows, 2 go-anywhere pillows. That's a 4 pillows. 50% off. Boom. Call 800-983-4975 or go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Benson. You're going to get a better night's sleep. It's absolutely amazing. I snore probably. I don't know because I'm sleeping, and that's what's amazing about it. It is incredible, and you are going to absolutely love it. It is a 4-pack. Grab it right now. 2 premium pillows, 2 go-anywhere pillows. Get just an incredible night's sleep with the world's most comfortable pillow. Go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Benson or call 800-983-4975. Or again, go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Benson. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We've got a poll up there. We'll touch on that. And I got your useless fact of the day straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
This whole thing over the weekend, it's protesters. It's, again, you're dealing with people who are protesting the people that are uniting the right, of which there's very few people that showed up, especially after last year's nightmare. There may be a lot of people that wanted to show up, but the fear factor was, hey, I could get caught, get put on television or somewhere. Next thing you know, I'm getting fired. But I think the reality is it's insane. The thought process for a lot of these people is insane. But on the other side, which doesn't get talked about by the establishment media, is the other side of it, which is the crazy side of it, of this resistance towards Trump. This is hilarious. Listen to this.
My name is Benny Johnson. I'm here at the counter-protest, the Unite the Right in Washington, D.C. We are asking people what they would do if President Trump were to show up at this march. Some of the answers have been pretty stunning. What would you do if Donald Trump showed up at the front? Murder him? Murder him for the people?
Murder him for the people.
How about you, man?
Man, I'll tell Trump to get on the floor and scrub those toilets himself. You gotta take him down. If it came down to it and it was a group effort, we'd have to do him like Gaddafi.
Like Gaddafi? What's that?
If I get a chance to him up, I would.
If the president showed up at this march, what would you do, sir?
Beat his ass.
Beat his ass? What's that?
Ass on his leg.
Yeah, solid individuals right there, people. Solid individuals. Just insane. Again, doesn't further any conversation. And by the way, anything that you have to say now about the protesters that you were showing up to counter-protest, anything you have to say, you've lost any moral argument that you think you have. And it goes back to that, hey, my hatred is better and more pure than your hatred. It is absolute insanity. This is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. Speaking of nice things, you go to church, you love church, church is fun, and go there, talk about Jesus, have a good time, whatever it is. Well, if you're going to go to church in Santa Cruz, California, might you have a beer.
The Greater Purpose Community Church in Santa Cruz sold its building recently and hopped over to the food lounge to hold its services, a community space with plenty of beer taps. Pastor Chris Van Hull asked the owner to keep the bar open.
There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't drink alcohol in a responsible manner.
Why not serve beer when they're reading Bible verses? I thought it was genius.
I think it's kind of fun, right? Bringing in a younger crowd. Oh, wait a minute here. We can go here, have a pint, relax, and enjoy ourselves. Right? It's like some of these big churches now you go, they've got Starbucks right there. They got all the coffee and they've got all kinds of snacks and stuff. But if you're going to a different, if you're going to a little bit later service, maybe you want like to, relax a little bit. Right? Say a prayer and toast a pint.
Every Sunday, the parishioners join to pray, listen, and drink.
We have a glass of beer and a glass of wine, and it's a comfortable atmosphere where people can not only listen to a progressive take on theology, but they can also engage in conversation. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if a church could figure out a way to make a product where they split the profits with local community service organizations? And we were like, hey, we love beer. We love making beer. Why not do a brewery? Manufacturing of the beer, the mead, and hopefully the cider is going to be downstairs.
Would you call it Bible and Brews? I think that's what you probably call it. Bible and Brews. Come, hang out, have a drink, read some verses. Oh, Bible and Brews it is. Bible and Brews it is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. We have a poll question today. A new CBS poll conducted with YouGov finds that 61% of Americans say that racial tensions have increased over the past year. What do you think? Is racial tension worse? 6% say it's better. 53% say it's worse. 41% of you say it's about the same. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can text us or take it on Facebook as well. Your useless fact of the day. A scorpion can hold its breath for a week. Think about that. Have a good rest of your day. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.